everybody
Unless it's
there
Eric and the other guy.
knows somebody either personally or 2 degrees from separation that was boxing. Somehow, it's the biggest networking event of the year. I mean, look at the crowd that was in there. They're not boxing people. They're corporate people. It's all corporate. Yeah. So that was the goal from the very beginning, make it a networking event that we can get somebody from Chase to fight somebody from Flagstar. But again, we quickly learned it's not about that. The whole idea is to not know whether you won or lost. Some people, it's a little more obvious than others. But you want to go to bed that night being like...
And everybody knew.
I was real surprised when I saw the loss check off. But
on your box.
Come on, don't say it out loud.
Yeah, you know what? That guy was an awesome guy.
He's amazing. He's amazing. I was telling Elissa, like,
his brother is an actual professional fighter.
So here's the thing. You guys want to laugh? So like when I was growing up as a kid, like my parents took me to Greek school and like Greek dancing classes where this kid went to freaking wrestling classes and training camps. So like fighting this guy was...
Yeah, so I actually took Ally Quinta with us, who has been on my show, and he's the kid that I was with. He's a retired professional MMA fighter for the UFC. He fought at the highest level you could fight for.
He fought Khabib.
Who is like arguably
So what did you think about the event?
We had a blast together. So
there was a New England Patriot, and no, he's not currently a New England Patriot, but he was in the crowd who voiced that he wants to box next.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So I go and I see him, and he was white as a ghost.
Who?
Dimitri.
Oh, yeah.
He was like...
You know what? The hardest part,
right?
The hardest part,
100%.
You're not
scared.
It's just nerves.
And you had to wait a while to go in.
It's nerves.
Oh, he was the second to last fight. Yeah. That's brutal.
It is
Third
brutal.
to last.
Third to last.
Yeah.
But so I go and I take him in, and he was with me, Al, and he goes, and we leave, and like... I'm not. When I say he was nervous, I mean like it's not meant as an insult.
No,
anybody would be nervous.
Everybody was nervous.
So we go.
Steve and I were
Most boxers say, thank God, not so much in our little world, but like when Golden Gloves, things like that,
Right.
like they'll get in the ring and puke.
Oh yeah, it's completely normal reaction. So
100%.
we walk out of where he was, and the kid Al goes, Vin. He goes, do you know the other guy? I go, no. Why? He goes, he's
a good boxer.
Really, really good.
Yeah.
And he's a fought.
Are you saying this in front of Dimitri?
No.
No,
So
we all
I go.
I sparred him many times.
But how did he know he was good? Because he didn't
his
have a
brother
book.
is a professional fighter.
Yeah.
So they run in the same circle.
Because I got him his book. It's
Wrestlers
not like he had a book.
No, that was his first fight. That was his first time in a ring like that.
First time in a yeah. But
like we had a conversation.
But he's been training for way longer than you have.
This guy goes on vacation and boxes with people randomly just to see how they box.
Yeah, so
you know, like
he could have been a little faster on
what it is?
the paperwork.
Don't say that. He's
no
a huge
Esperanza.
help.
No.
Yeah, no, he was a huge help, and we look, at the end of the day, if we can get 20 boxers that all match up and have 10 fights of all people that raise money, that's the goal.
So what was the difficulty with getting him matched up?
It's just
his
age,
size,
weight. It's those are your two things: age and weight.
My skill.
What are the odds that first of all, we had a lighter roster. We really shoot for 20 to 24 boxers because some don't make it, they hurt themselves, or they can't do it for some reason, and they wean off. And then we need anywhere from 1 to 3 or 4 fill-ins.
Yeah.
This year we had 14 fundraising boxers. That's it.
And there's no guarantee they're all the same
6
age,
of them needed
same
fill-ins.
weight,
Yeah.
same.
I mean, you had 2 guys in there, 300 pounds.
The last guys, right?
But those were 2 fundraisers. That's why they were
big fundraisers.
Our
they
main
have to
event,
match.
our final fight, we always try to make either the biggest fundraisers or if I knew Anthony's fight was going to be that fight,
I know.
I think
Who's
I might have
Anthony?
made him the main
Anthony
event.
Anthony and Eric Ramsey.
Oh, good. Look, shout out to Ramsey Real Estate. And who's the other guy?
Anthony Lambroya from Corbett Public Relations.
He's Corbett. He's on our committee. He's been with us for years.
Yeah.
Those two put on a show.
I never saw
awesome.
that side of Anthony.
Who actually got the check?
Anthony's a Tiger Showman's kid.
You know what? Did he? How do you know?
Because he told me. Everybody knew at the after party.
Either one of them deserved that.
No, they both did.
Yeah.
And honestly, when they were sparring, we see Anthony at the committee, and he's very quiet, and
I'm
he's
going to get him whole
there.
hands at the next committee meeting.
And then I see him sparring on
amazing.
Sundays, and I couldn't believe it. I'm like, this kid is gonna kill somebody.
Yeah.
He's a fighter.
And then when we matched him with Eric, I was like, I don't know. And then
How old are they?
they were 30, in their mid 30s, 32, 35, something like
Younger
that.
than me.
That shit changes after
They're
35.
Yeah, but
Is that the cutoff?
Things start to hurt a little bit more.
They
You don't recover
just-
as quick.
they
Like ski accidents,
Unbelievable.
things like
I
that.
don't know. I got punched in the jaw. It was pretty good after a couple days.
Yeah. Elissa
Yeah.
cracked her rib when she fought.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Not Elissa, my daughter.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I mean,
Oh, I was like,
I break a
My daughter.
nail.
You know Elissa boxed?
Sure. Yeah.
yeah, your daughter.
She
boxed.
was the main event.
She fought a year before Steve.
Do you think you should move that?
No. She fought, I think, 2 years
2
before Steve.
years.
Do you think, just like an outside observation, do you think you should move up that like biggest draw, biggest fundraiser up a few fights? Because I felt like as the night went on, you lost people who
So
fought.
we always lose people, right? And if we put the ones that bring the most people in the beginning,
Not the beginning, but like
but even early,
middle,
then by the
middle,
time the last
three-quarters.
two fights, we've had that. And by the time the last two fights happen, it's too less of a crowd.
Yeah.
So we knew that the last 3 bouts were
Yeah.
going to keep everybody in
Pat
the room.
Ryan
And they
had
did.
a ton of people.
They did.
Dimitri
I
had
mean,
a
we
ton
lost
of people.
our Lynx contingency after Dee's fight, but
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
were
but-
there, man. You know,
good, yeah.
did you
We
see
had a
them
good
all?
show.
Or did
Oh,
you?
what?
So-
Those guys are all like what? They're definitely 60 plus, right?
Are they? I hadn't noticed.
What?
The Lynx, the
you
older
know,
guys in
we
Lynx.
had a lot of people show
Yeah,
up.
we
There
had
were a
good
lot of
turnout.
More than has ever attended a fight for charity in the 20 years we've been doing.
Very good turn.
Yeah, they were all like trying to hope that Dimitri got his ass kicked.
Yeah. No, they.
Did you hear us screaming for you in the front
Awesome.
row?
I was screaming. There's no way you didn't hear me.
So
You.
it's
don't-
it's
when
very
you're-
surreal, guys. When
Yeah.
you're up there, so like I got into the ring, right, and like you're talking about nerves from before. You get into the ring, the rope comes off. You look at Frankie. He kind of talks to you.
That's where
He
I
says
go,
whatever
take
he
the robe
says.
off. These things.
But the
hanging out.
moment that bell
You'll be in the best
rings,
shape of your life.
the
Try it.
moment that bell rings, like everything is just drowned out. You don't hear anyone.
don't hear the
see
crowd?
anyone. You just
What
look
about
at
Frank?
You
No,
look,
yeah,
no,
this is-
I
this
see
is
lights
what his
and
wife
this,
is talking about. He doesn't
I
listen
see
to shit.
I see
That's
lights and opponents. The opponent in front of you, and like that's what you're going.
So you
for.
don't even hear Frankie
I
telling
didn't
you
hear,
what to do?
Well, when you go back, he's like, "Hey, relax,
Right.
take a breath, sit into your punches," you know.
The first
But
round
like
is
you're in there,
definitely
you don't
not
hear. Like I kind of heard a couple, but like it was
So
just
you get.
it was just
I got one good shot.
it was outside.
We were
noise.
standing around the ring screaming.
We were
Yeah?
screaming.
Yeah.
screaming.
Well, you'll see.
Yeah.
First of all, there's the live link is on the website.
Cool.
So LongIslandFightForCharity.org, you can go to and see the whole entire video.
Sure.
So definitely look at that.
I'm gonna wait a little bit until I
And then I got pictures
play
today.
that video.
I got pictures today. That
Cool.
did you get an email from?
I didn't look at them
Yeah,
yet,
I didn't
though,
look
but
at them yet
yes.
either, but I got an email. So yeah, it's an awesome event.
It is an awesome event. A lot of
So
people.
like
showed
I'm
up.
saying, best shape in your life.
I no, Steve's been asking me to do this for the past 2 years. I really was hopeful to fight Paul Schmidt, but
That was the goal.
yeah.
One of you
Come
stood
in.
up.
He chickens out.
So I was
Paul's
like
fit, like
271. I was 271 when we started this. I weighed in at 216.
Man.
Wow.
Wow. God bless you, man.
How many
That's
milligrams
awesome.
of Ozempic are you on?
Enough to cause a shortage. But yeah, it was a great journey. Like the whole journey is amazing. The most difficult thing I thought was actually asking people for money.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah.
Not as easy as you thought.
I was like, I had all these big hopes and dreams of like bringing in a ton of money, and then it was like, hey, can I have some money, please?
Yeah.
But you raised a fair amount of money.
I think we did okay.
The goal is 10 grand, and he beat that
Yeah.
by
Almost
a
double.
decent amount.
Yeah. You were almost
So,
at 20.
It's all
That's
good
great.
stuff.
Dude. I mean,
yeah.
listen. I said this to him. I've said this to Paul. Everybody we run in the same circles with. It's like you may not have done as good as you wanted to. You didn't get knocked out. You didn't get beat up. You stepped in a ring in front of 1,200 people, and you raised what was it, 16 and change?
Almost
Yep.
17.
Yeah,
Yeah.
almost 17.
Almost
That's
17.
17
Man, making
grand.
an even 20. And you raised about $20,000. So like that in itself should be celebrated more so than you didn't do as well as you might have liked.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
One of our taglines is what are the name of Adam's movie. What's a few punches worth?
yeah,
And 17 grand.
17 grand, 17,000.
And you did
Absolutely.
something that, 300,
Yeah.
350, 400 other Long Islanders only do. Like, that's a very small percentage
Yeah.
of the people who actually
I don't know where if,
can do
if
it.
it was Frankie that said it that less than 1%
1%.
Yeah,
just human beings.
Just
You
get
gotta
up.
get
Dude, you're
into a
basically a
ring,
SEAL
yeah.
Team 6 member.
Yeah, there you go.
So
And you can let Paul Schmidt know that on the regular. You know, he
Oh,
could
I
always
will.
fight next year.
I will.
Paul would probably do all right. He's just
He
like,
would do fine.
he's.
Are you guys
know,
I
within
think
10
it's
years?
more about the time. He had
Who,
to
Paul?
spend a
Yeah.
lot of time
I think
in the
he's 10
gym.
years older than me.
Paul's. I'm pretty sure he's 45.
And
I'm
you're what?
37.
Oh, so you would have been
Yeah.
able to fight.
Yeah.
10
Yeah,
years.
within
10 year
10 years.
difference in
That's
8,
elder abuse.
So
8
much
pounds.
the frustration with that
8
man.
pounds.
Yeah, 8 pounds. I don't know. He
Yeah,
couldn't
8
have gotten
pounds.
within 8
No,
pounds.
he
You're-
wouldn't
you're-
have, yeah.
You got to be lighter
You would
than
have had to
him
put some
now.
pennies in
Yeah.
your shorts.
Yeah, remember he's also like, what are you?
6'6".
And what is Paul? 6'4"?
Yeah, you know what?
But
2
he's-
inches makes a
he's
big
always been a
difference,
big
Steve.
boy,
Believe me.
But he's a stocky
height
guy.
was-
That means
Height was one of the problems with you too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Problems,
if you're in the
challenge.
in the real fighting world, if I'm pretty sure I'm right. Height makes no difference. It's the weight. So like, you know, if you're 6'6" and you're at
Height doesn't
220,
you have the reach, right?
You know,
But
You
it's
have
a
the
reach. It's a reach when when everything else is even.
Yeah.
right.
You know, then it makes it.
I constantly remind myself that this is a charity event and it's not gladiator. You know,
Everybody's a winner,
yes.
and that's how we like to keep it. And again, it's a USA sanctioned fight. You know, there's a record kept, and you have a book.
I saw
So-
Chris there announcing. What, somebody didn't show up, something like that?
No, so we.
Chris
we,
Conline.
yeah, Chris, and so changed it up a little bit this year. The last several years, we had Sid. What's Sid's last name? Love Sid. He's a professional announcer, and Sal
Pharaoh.
Sparrow from Allure, who had sold the company, so now he's Farrow Foundation. Have always been the announcers and always have done a phenomenal job. I mean, just awesome. The banter in between, the play-by-play, they really brought it on that level. And keep in mind, all this is on pay-per-view. Like, people across the country that couldn't make it, that wanted to see their friends or family, paid for it and sat in front of their TV and
Yeah,
watched
we had a
it,
couple.
which is
We had a couple.
awesome.
Yeah.
International?
I think some
People
people
in
international.
Greece,
Yeah, they did, right?
absolutely.
I'm sure, like,
Absolutely.
they went
It's
around the
pay-per-view.
island and told me I got my ass
Yeah.
kicked. So my mom's like, oh, how you got beat up?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
You know what? Sometimes it's better that they don't watch.
Yeah. No, it was great. I don't,
Your wife was very good.
Yeah, she was, and I'm glad you didn't bring your girls.
yeah.
Yeah,
Why?
it's-
No, it was way too
amazing.
late.
It was just a lot going on.
it's-
Like,
No,
I
but
didn't
you
care
didn't
about
want
them
them
watching.
to see
So
that.
that's a big problem we have every year because it's a 21 and over event.
Sure, yeah.
And how do you tell a boxer that their children can't come?
Yeah.
So we always allow that. If the
Yeah.
kid, we'll let it. But it just, it's hard.
Well, I didn't know that. My nieces were there.
You could have pulled a,
No, I'm not
could've pulled a
saying. I'm
Rocky.
not saying it's
No,
hard.
but you
Could've pulled
don't
a
want.
Rocky.
It's
Yeah.
different for your daughters to see you get.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
it's
Punched in
family.
that kind
And
of
whether it's your
environment.
daughters
You're
or
Yeah.
also
nieces.
young enough where, like,
They'll forget.
how old is Leah?
Leah's 3.
3? So she'd probably be upset in the moment, but
That's what I mean.
you know,
You don't want to
Yeah.
have
that's one
that.
ice cream cone away from
Yeah.
Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
She'll forget everything.
You
after
never
that.
know.
Yeah.
You never know. You know what? You did great. So
Yeah.
you wouldn't have.
Very proud of
Neither
you.
one of them would have had any concern.
I'm proud of you.
because
Yeah,
you
we're
really
proud
did.
of
You did a
you.
great thing.
It's, like I said, it's a good event. We raise a lot of money. And,
What did we end up raising? Like the whole
we
event?
don't have a final yet because we have a lot of.
Round
You gotta
house?
skim a few off the
There's a lot of
top.
cost. There's a lot of
It's
cost.
a lot.
It's a very expensive event. to
Our
put
goal
on.
is always in the 100,000 range
Cool.
to give out. We've had years we did way more. We've had years we had less. But part of the issue that kind of always sticks us is boxers that raise 10 grand, anything above 10 grand, 50% of that excess can be split between any local charity they want. We try to keep it Long Island, Nassau, Suffolk.
Yeah, I think it's important to
It
keep
is.
to the
100%
heavy
with a
local
Long
stuff.
Island Fight for Charity. We want to keep everything here. So when we've had boxers raise $70,000, $80,000, we don't get all of that $70,000, $80,000.
No.
If it's 80, 35,000 of that, because half of 70 of the overage goes to a charity of their choice. So it still goes to charity.
So I saw a stat recently to further your point that was, so I get it with me with the funerals, right? So they can donate money. They can do it on our website or they can do it wherever they want. But we always preach local because what happens is if you make a donation to, let's just say, like some giant national organization, in reality, what trickles back down to the local is like less than 5%.
Yeah.
and sometimes not
So
at all.
Not e-
for
yeah.
every
Yeah.
dollar you donate, less than 5% makes it to your community.
100%.
But if you do it locally,
Yes.
for every $1 you donate, 65 cents goes to your area, which is a drastic difference. And listen, the national guys, they do great things too. They probably fund all like the big research for cures.
Well, that's what it is.
So on and
it's
so
usually
forth.
research where local is programs.
Well, let's let Apple donate them.
So you're doing Eden, and so was Theo and Esperanza, and then
well, Eden's a good example of that. So Eden 2 and Genesis, those are Staten Island and Long Island programs. We donate to the Long Island program of Eden 2, which is Genesis, and that's children and adults through their entire lifespan. So when people want to, I have a son with autism, and people throughout his life have said to me, we want to make a donation. And there are national organizations where if you make that donation, that's exactly what it is. It's research, trying to find out the causes of autism, which is extremely important.
Sure.
But what we raise money for on Long Island is the actual programs for the hundreds, if not thousands of kids that are on Long Island that have autism, somewhere on the spectrum, need services, and can't afford them or can't access them. So that's where that money goes.
Eden or Eden, what's the difference between the Genesis?
So Eden 2 is started on Staten Island. It's been around since the 70s, and they're 100% an organization that serves the needs of children and adults with autism. Started in the 70s with children, with school programs. As those kids with special ed, it's 21. You become an adult, not 18. So you'll be in a school program till you're 21. At 21, you become an adult. Most programs that you've been in since you were however age are done. Now you have to start all over again, try to find an adult program that has space that is good for that individual, especially with autism, where there could be just an array of different behavioral issues. So now you're going to go somewhere where they don't know you, at least, barely know you, if at all. So what Eden did was they started their own adult program, a day hab, in Staten Island, so that when you turn 21, you're automatically, there's a spot for you in their day hab.
Right.
Now, staff knows you, the organization knows you. It's just a really easy transition. In the early 90s, a group of parents on Long Island who had children with autism, there were no programs that were sufficient for those kids. Eden 2 will never, ever turn a child with autism away for any reason. So there are programs where their behaviors are so bad that they're like, we just don't have the staff. We don't have the training.
Wife is a psychologist. She worked for, I got to get this right, CDD, Center for Developmental Disabilities in Syosset. And they have I want to say it's called the day program, but I believe they stay there. It's like sleepaway camp.
Oh, there's housing.
Like a home.
Housing, yeah. So they're there they go to school during the day, and then they stay there, they sleep there, and they have that, around the clock care. But I believe I could be wrong, that they're for profit. But, I remember when I first met my wife, I thought she was an MMA fighter. She would come home like disheveled with bruises. I was like,
you know what? Anybody that does direct care from any level is a saint.
She would get beat up all the time.
Yeah.
And kudos to those angels on earth, because first of all, not everybody's got the demeanor, the mental space to be able to have that happen to them and then react in a way that doesn't match that anger or
that's not
frustration.
No, absolutely.
And they just keep on keeping on. I mean, I've said this before on other podcasts. Like in my business, the funeral home, there's a lot of alcoholism. You're just looking death in the face, all the time.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it's the little old lady, and then sometimes it's tragedies. Like right now, Massapequa Park is dealing with a terrible tragedy.
Terrible.
I'm in Massapequa. He's
poor kid just dropped dead on the ice.
Doing a fundraising
for a
hockey game
for
a girl that passed
away a year ago,
car accident last year,
and then either takes a hit or whatever happened and dies, and it just it makes you wonder. So in that industry, in my industry, there's a lot of alcoholism, and then I always wonder in other industries, being an aide or something like that, it's the amount of effort that they put into their
poverty.
job. Yeah,
that's their
versus
issue.
what they get paid
minimum wage.
Yeah.
So if you want to know what their issues are, is they need to work 2 jobs, and one of them, if not both, is direct care to somebody with special needs, which is amazing. I mean, again, it's difficult.
Your son, what's your son's name again?
Brandon.
Is Brandon home with you?
Yeah, so Brandon's 29. So just to cap that off, so Eden too also has group homes. So they have, I don't know, I'm on the board and I don't know the actual number of group homes. On Long Island, we have 2 and we're opening up a 3rd. So they'll manage the group home as well as they are in the day program if they're an adult. Well, they're all adults in the group homes we have. So with Brandon, he lives with us at home. Trying to get housing for anybody with special needs is pretty much a nightmare.
I'm sure.
Especially just there's a moratorium in New York, so you can't. People are like, just open more. There's limits to how many you can have in a neighborhood.
I'm sure you get a huge pushback.
It's huge.
I remember. I mean, listen, I'm guilty of it myself. We had on my block I grew up in Wantagh, my childhood home. There was a group home for people with Downs.
It's usually the most manicured house in the neighborhood.
So
because they got to follow New York State rules.
Mama's home.
I'm going to sound like that comedian. What's the big guy? He's fairly new. He always talks about his Uncle Danny making grilled cheeses at night.
Oh.
Sebastian Maniscalco?
No. But anyway, so they make me laugh because it was this guy, Mike, that was, he had Downs and I thought they had to be supervised all the time, but Mike would walk around the block by himself. He introduced himself to me. He's like overly friendly. I would describe him as being like an excited puppy.
Yep.
And what's your name? And I was like, I'm Vin. I was like, I live right over here. It's nice to meet you. He's like, cool. And as he goes to walk away, he goes, hey, Vin. I go, what's up, Mike? He goes, fuck you. So every time I'd see this guy, he'd sneak a bird.
Right.
Or, he would verbal.
That was his thing with you.
I laughed my ass off every time I saw this.
If you ran into him in a crowded room, he'd remember who you are, remember where you live.
Yeah. He turned out to be my high school football coach's brother. By chance. I remember seeing him across the street.
I'm sure he wasn't his brother by chance, but
no.
Your neighbor
I mean, you never know.
Yeah.
Maybe it was the coach that told him to go.
Yeah. So
exactly.
He was emulating
He's like,
him.
you live near Vince. Try to find.
So what was your experience like? Not to get too personal, but having an autistic son is definitely comes with its challenges.
Learning curve. Yeah. Well, again, so when my son was young
and being an entrepreneur,
he's 29 years old now. So he was diagnosed at about 18 months. We knew there was something wrong. Sorry, Paul Schmidt. Hang up on him. So we knew there was something wrong. But again, today versus 29 years ago, 28, 27 years ago, it's very different. They weren't very quick to diagnose.
In reality, back then, it was just, he's just slow to develop talking.
But again, he's a twin. So my daughter Brittany and Brandon are twins. So when you have twins, you compare them.
Oh, yeah. I do it now, my twins. Yeah.
He was walking first. He was talking first. He started saying stuff before she did. Wow. So, pick up a phone and go, oh, for hello, said mom, dad, would look at the moon and say, didn't speak. Again, he was maybe 14 months old. But Brittany didn't speak yet. He walked before she did. And then at about 18, 19 months, just kind of lost everything. We thought he lost his hearing, which was kind of bizarre. So again, didn't know a lot about autism. Most people didn't. It's not like today. So we really had no idea what autism was at all. So we thought he lost his hearing. I would, again, 20-month-old baby sitting in front of the TV, sneak up with 2 big pans, slam them together behind him. Wouldn't even flinch.
Oh, yeah, I'd shit blood.
I'm like, he doesn't hear. How can you not even move? So take him to a neurologist. They got to put him under. Thank God you could test hearing without being awake, which was, again, a learning thing for me. And when they were done, they're like, no, his hearing's fine. We were like, well, then what is it? And back then, they didn't like to diagnose, especially that young. So I'm talking to a neurologist. It's like, well, we can grow out of it. I'm like, grow out of what? Like, it was the pulling teeth. And you can't get services unless you have a diagnosis.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So you need a diagnosis so that you know what to do. Today, there's early intervention. Back then, there was not. Mm-hmm. So it was just a different world. So we quickly found out what autism was, kind of dove into learning what it was.
And this is like, what, 1989?
This has got to be, no. He's 29. So he was born in, he was born in 95.
High school math.
Just like 97, 98.
What age did you bring him to Eden?
Well, so we were trying to get him, whatever we could, which again was really non-existent. Genesis had just started because a group of parents with children that were a few years older than Brandon were freaking out that there was no good program for their children, which there wasn't. The school program couldn't really, I hate to use the word handle them, but really didn't know what to do.
Yeah,
I mean, you're just trying to corral them and not let them hurt themselves, but you're not, teaching them anything or trying to get them. Children with autism is a big spectrum, so whether they're going to be...
It's a very big spectrum.
Very outdated term, and I know people that might listen to this will be offended by it, but there's high functioning all the way to low functioning.
Yes.
My son is nonverbal. He can do for himself. He could use the bathroom. He could feed himself, but he could never be left alone. He can't really communicate other than...
So I think that's a big part of their frustration, right? I think that's where you get the violent outbursts, is the inability to get what's probably, in reality, in their brain... to their mouth and then out of their mouth. Yeah. And that's where my wife would tell me too. She's like, that's where a lot of it comes from.
Absolutely. He was about 6 or 7 by the time we got him into Genesis.
I remember when you got him in there.
We worked together.
Your whole life that changed.
Yeah, it really did. I mean, getting him in, so he was, again, in a BOCES program. He was what they call a bolter. So if you turned around, he was gone. I mean, at like 2 years old, 3 years old, very young, he was gone. He was quick. He was skinny and small. So, you turn to the phrase, "Where's Brandon?" was common used in my house. We had helicopters looking for him multiple times. So he was at a BOCES program and climbed out the window. Almost got away there.
I like this kid.
He was at a program, I'm not going to mention the name. It was a weekend program.
Could you imagine though, as a parent?
Yeah, it was crazy. But he was at a Saturday program. We would try to get him as many programs as we could. And when we went to pick him up, we found out earlier that day, they didn't want to worry us. He had gotten out.
By the way,
he had gotten out a back gym door that should have had an alarm.
You?
No.
Oh.
They found him walking up. He was like 8 years old. Walking up.
We found him on
Jericho
Northern
Turnpike.
Boulevard.
On the train tracks.
Jericho Turnpike walking up. And this is like over a mile away from where he was.
Oh my God.
So, yeah, it was kind of crazy. So I lost my point. So when we got him into Genesis, it was definitely life altering. They not only did he have a program that he went to every day, Monday through Friday, but they were able to give us in-home services. There's different programs you can access, which it's unless you network with other families with children with special needs, you never find this stuff.
Well, that's probably in reality how all that stuff came about.
100%.
It was probably a group of people, and then just like anything, somebody with a ton of money probably had a kid with autism and went, "There's nothing to do. Like, we have to do something."
It actually wasn't money.
And then
it was literally finding Eden 2 in Staten Island and saying, "Why can't you open up a program on Long Island?"
You can't trust those guys.
But that's the whole reason, to kind of bring it full circle, right? That's the whole reason why we started the Fight for Charity, because Jeff Cohen decided that he wanted to start
do a
boxing,
fundraiser for autism.
and he wanted to do a fundraiser for autism, and he wanted to do it for
boxing first,
right? For Brandon and for your family, and to take care of that situation. So that's how the Fight for Charity 100%. Really started.
Was Eden the first charity?
So
is it always the charity?
Eden has always been one of the staple charities for that reason.
Yep.
Jeff, we all worked together. We ran the Hilton for a number of years, and Jeff was always into weightlifting and bodybuilding and got in boxing, but never. He did Golden Gloves a little bit as even younger. But somehow got involved with boxing. We had opened up a business together, the Weeping Willow, and when we had that. And up the block, there was a big gym. Jeff became really good friends with the 2 owners. Just weird kind of happenstances that brought this all together. Jeff got this guy, Tony, who was a trainer out of where he was
sounds like
doing
a mom
it.
Story.
Yeah. Into this powerhouse gym in Farmingdale, no longer there. And all of a sudden, he started doing boxing training there. Elissa and I and Jeff, we were all very good friends to this day.
Yeah.
I mean, lots of us.
But he came to us. I'll never
there.
forget it. I was in the North Wing hallway where you guys were like
Been at the Hilton
hanging
for
out.
20 years.
He came to me. I was the director of catering. Steve had already left, and
Jeff
he's like,
and I were gone.
"So I want to do this thing. I want to have a charity boxing match, and I want to do it at the Hilton." And I'm thinking, no, this is never going to work. Like
Jeff thinks very big.
It just sounds stupid, and I don't think it's gonna happen.
Guys like that too.
And he's like, he hounded me for months. And then finally goes, I don't care what day you give me any day of the year.
The deadest day.
So I was like, all right, well, the deadest day. I looked at my long spreadsheet and said, the deadest day is always the Monday before November, Thanksgiving.
It's my favorite day.
So I say to him,
no, the deadest day.
The deadest day.
There you go.
So I call him. I said, okay, the Monday before Thanksgiving. He says, done. And I was like, oh, what do you mean done? Like now the wheels are in motion. There's a million things I need to.
And you're the executive
director of the Long Island Community Chess. So back in the day.
But I was involved from the very beginning because of the hotel connection. So.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So But
she was on the outside running it with us as a manager running the Hilton. And then
in
years later,
2019,
became the director.
How was the first turnout? Like, how was the?
It was pretty good. I mean, better than we.
It was we did it differently because remember we had the cocktail party for like a real cocktail party first. I think there was only like 5 bouts, maybe if that many.
It was on a smaller scale, but we had restaurants that came in. We lined them up in the hallway. And that's where the food was first. And then you went into the ballroom and you watched the fight.
I don't think that's a terrible idea, really. Yeah. So I just have, like...
Obviously, the second year got bigger, and then the third year.
And it became too tight in the hallway to keep the food because there was too many people attending it. We came up pretty quickly with, you know what, if not everybody's watching every bout. You know, for the fights that aren't your friends, you're not interested. Yeah. Everybody
unless it's
there
Eric and the other guy
knows somebody either personally or 2 degrees from separation that was boxing. Somehow, it's the biggest networking event of the year. I mean, look at the crowd that was in there. They're not boxing people. They're corporate people. It's all corporate. Yeah. So that was the goal from the very beginning, make it a networking event that we can get somebody from Chase to fight somebody from Flagstar. But again, we quickly learned it's not about that. It's about height. I mean, not height. It's about weight.
Once we became sanctioned.
Yeah, well, we
were always sanctioned.
We also, in the beginning, didn't think it was a big deal to not be sanctioned.
Yeah.
It's amateur.
So how'd you guys find that out?
Oh, by getting shut down. Yeah, we found out the hard way.
I almost got arrested. It was great.
Yeah, so it was,
I
don't know if it was our 4th or 5th year by then. Third year, okay, so it was early on. All of a sudden, USA Boxing shows up.
Someone called me on the phone and said, "Are you having a boxing match at the Hilton site?" Yeah. I didn't think anything of it. And they were like, "We're with the liquor authority, and you don't have the proper credentials, and we're shutting you down.
We're going to shut you down, and if
then
you
they all
do it,
descended.
we'll pull your liquor license." So that freaked out the general manager and everybody.
It was...
So it was day of.
Were you still in business for yourself at that point?
Yeah.
So
we started this.
Didn't you have a liquor license?
No, this is at the Hilton.
You can't transfer. How do you? So what happened?
So they closed us down. They took my driver's license. They're like, if you don't tear this ring down right away, we're gonna arrest you. And you're gonna. And I was
they wanted somebody representing the hotel, and I think the GM was hiding out.
Yes. So I was.
So
the
she
scapegoat.
said, "This is my event. I'm with the hotel." They said, "We need your license." She handed him a license.
Yeah, and they're like, "You're responsible now." So I was like, "Everybody, get the F out of here. Clean this ring up. I don't want to see anybody in this ballroom." Like, it was intense.
What we did, because we had maybe not 1,200 people coming, but certainly more than 500.
Yeah.
So what we did was we decided
the third one. We got away with it for 2 years.
Yeah. Wow. So we decided, let's invite everybody to a big cocktail party, because that's what they were coming to anyway. Let them know that there won't be any boxing, but we've raised money and we're still going to give it away.
We did it in March, right? I think we finally figured out how to do it legally or regularly.
We had a meeting right away with USA Boxing. They said you got to do A, B, and C. We were able to do all that. It wasn't a big deal. So we ended up redoing the event in March. And that's really when it turned to this huge event that it is today.
But we've had brothers box each other, like Brandon and Evan Bloom have boxed each other.
And we've had...
best friends have boxed each other.
And family.
Neighbors.
Look, my daughter boxed, and 2 years later, her husband boxed, my son-in-law. So it's definitely father-son kind of thing. We have Frankie, Chuck
and married, and
his
Zach
son
did
Zach
this
boxed
year.
this year.
Yeah,
So kind of cool stuff. And again, 20
and some
years.
people have done it several times, which we're hoping that you're going to do, Dimitri.
Well, I'd love to join the boxing committee. And
well, we need we've gotten to a point where we really have Elissa to thank for organizing us more than we've really ever been.
Yeah, I don't think people who know Elissa really understand how important and benevolent she really is.
I'll tell you, all the Long Island Elite members now know, who might not have before, because she produced the best LIE gala in 20 years.
Yeah, it was
such a fun
and just
event.
killed it.
The palm trees.
So
Thank you.
that she's sleeping in her sleep. But that, and then going into the fight for charity within a month or 6 weeks, whatever it was.
Yeah, I'm sure it was a stressful time.
But it was. And then I had Liad in the middle.
Oh, you had Long Island Alzheimer's in the middle?
Bunch of meetings.
Going back to the LIE gala, I mean, amazing gala. The palm trees were like a finishing touch.
Did you take one home?
The best was literally
the centerpiece is from Bayview, Florida.
Yes, very beautiful.
And to be fair, Spitz and Peck did a great job too.
They did. Everybody did a
big shout out to those guys. I've never met them. I've only heard great things about them. But we took palm trees. We left like hillbillies. I had my pickup truck.
I was walking around telling everybody.
We had to get him out of there.
We had
to get him out of there. I woke up in the morning because I stayed over, and I was like, if there were palm trees that people didn't take, I'll stick them in my car, but they were gone.
My 2 girlfriends came to help volunteer, and they took an Uber home, and they called it an Uber XL to take the palm trees home.
And they didn't drive
the Uber let them take 2 palm trees home.
You know what? It was a great event. We raised a lot of money
for Eden.
Next week is the LIE holiday party that you guys are.
Yeah, they're coming because they're both sponsors.
We're going to take Paulie with me as my guest too.
But wasn't Paul also a sponsor?
Yeah, but he can come.
So he also was a sponsor.
I let him think I'm doing him a favor.
Yeah, no, I want it to be a big crowd. It's a good party, and we're going to be announcing
the check for Eden.
Which I will say, and Elissa should thank me back because I'm not hounding her.
That's
the
true.
fact that she will not tell me how much they
I told
raised.
you you're just going to be happy.
Who was the other guest? The other honoree?
Anthony Parziale, Senior.
So big shout out to Anthony.
What does
Parziale.
Anthony do?
The advanced
moving or advanced group, which is moving and stories.
And
Malloy Brothers.
What's her name from our group?
Vivian.
Oh, Vivian works with
Vivian from
Anthony.
Links works for Anthony and on the moving side, and he killed it. I mean, look, I know the LIE since the inception, going back 20 years.
Steve and I worked a lot together this year.
Yeah.
In the last couple months.
So what they do is they pick one charity partner for the year, and whatever money they raise throughout the year, their golf outing, but it's really the gala is the big money maker for them, goes to this one organization, and they'll never do the same. Every year it's got to be a different one. Mm-hmm. And all the members, there's 110,
Is there a minimum that they have to raise?
No.
Oh, for the honoree?
For the honor. Well,
yes.
That's, So first, it's the LIE picking the
First, you have to pick the charity, which we're in the process. I was just at charity this morning.
So when Elissa came to me and said she's going to nominate Eden to, Genesis to be the charity partner, not this year, but last year, I was like, oh my God, that's awesome. But it's not easy. There's probably 5 or 6 members that bring in charities. They're all great organizations.
This year we had 17 applications.
So last year, Eden 2 came in second. And they lost to Paws of War, which is puppies and veterans.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
You can't
That's
really
like having
get
the cheat
upset.
codes.
Right.
I know. When I wrote my summary of all our site visits, that's the first thing I wrote. Like, who doesn't love veterans and puppies?
It's Veterans and Puppies. It's a great organization. They got $125,000 last year.
And Anthony fought for them. His overage is going to Paws of War.
Anthony boxed for his overage is going to Paws of War. When they walked his entourage, they had a couple of dogs.
Yeah.
It was awesome. They had some veterans with them. It was great. Great organization, but Elissa put Eden 2 back in the hat for this year, and
what are you trying to get a free wedding or something?
No, just
my second one.
Love. I mean, we go back. She doesn't want to say how many years because she was 8 when we started working together.
Yeah.
Long time.
Long time.
So when Eden 2 was picked as the charity partner, it was, not really her responsibility to do what she did. She did that on her own. And then had to do a proposal. They put out an RFP for who's they're going to hire to produced this year's gala. Every year they do that.
And I did
There's
it
no
at the
guarantee that the same person does it year over year. They put it out to bid, and they chose Elissa to do it. So now not only did she help get Eden to be the charity, she's producing the event. So
a lot of stress.
Now she's got a double-edged reason to make it the best event it could ever be. And I have a personal stake in it. So when they came to me and said, would you be an honoree? Look, the first thing you think of when somebody says, would you be an honoree? It's how many golfers can you bring? How many tables can you sell? How many ads can you get? You know, if you're going to accept being an honoree, that comes with that. And I think get that.
I don't want to say he learned his lesson, but like, you're like, yeah, we could do it. And then it's like, in reality, we've spoken, you're hitting up the same group of people.
Well, and that's just it. It's hard to go to the same well. Yeah. So every year, LA has a different organization they're honoring, and they're going to give the money to, and every year they get new honorees.
So what's the requirement to be like the head guy?
Well,
the head honoree.
So traditionally they get 3 honorees. Yeah. Traditionally, they do give you a range, you know, of what.
I don't want to say it out loud because I don't want to scare anybody from doing it.
It's a decent amount of money that they ask you to bring in. It's a give-get.
More than the
it's a give-get.
charity?
Yes.
Yeah.
I once had
times 3?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a big give-get, but it's a give-get. You don't have to reach in your pocket and write a check. You could run around and, you know, have your friends, your vendors, your coworkers, whoever, like Dimitri did when he was boxing, all pony up and try to bring in as much as you can. And it's divvied up a lot of ways. I mean, Lessings, you know, the company I work for, Lessings Hospitality.
Never heard of
them. Yeah. They took a big sponsorship, which came with a table. So there was a table. I took a table. I was able to get friends to take.
I met your owner. I was like,
Michael Lessing honored me by flying up.
Yeah.
He was in Florida, and he literally made the plans to fly up so that he could attend.
That's nice.
And they bought a table. Our networking group, Links, shout out to Links Networking, bought a table, and we had a Links table. So my give-get was partially out of my pocket because I bought a table, and partially I took some sponsorships, and part of it was me bringing that in. Anthony Parziali not only did that,
he gave a good gift too,
but he went above and beyond. I mean, he raised double what I probably got. So that is what made this year so successful.
He's supposed to. You were the second honoree. He was the first.
Well,
it doesn't
he can't get outshine.
It really.
He set a personal goal too. Not that you did it, but he set a personal goal, and it was very high. And every day he's texting me, "Did I get it yet? Did I get it? Did I get it? Did I get it?"
He's amazing, and I can't. You know, we can, and Eden too can't thank him enough. And it shows when you see next week when they present Eden 2 with the check. And I don't know how much it's going to be for, but I'm told I'll be happy.
Stop asking
I feel
me.
like Eden 2 made out really well this
They're doing a good year.
Well, and part of what LIE, and again, I don't know if this is part of what you're calculating.
I don't know. Let me hear what you're going to say.
We had 2 boxers this year that came from the LIE, Esperanza and Theo.
Sure.
Excuse me.
Their money's going to go to Eden.
He's going to Eden, and LIE is going to show that.
As part of as part of the number.
Excuse me. Correct.
So now, as the executive director, what does that month look like for you? Like that much?
The month of November?
Yeah, like all that. That's a lot of responsibility.
It's a lot of responsibility from the beginning.
I got to fill out my membership thing, and I'm having a crisis. And it's just one piece of paper.
Oh, you mean for the gala or for the Fight for Charity?
I mean, think about
it. So the Fight for Charity, because we are USA sanctions, it is very involved. So we have to recruit all of the boxers, which we started at the ends of March.
That guy Chuck, what's his name? I keep saying Chuck Liddell.
Chuck
Merritt. Like
Merritt
at the end of the event. Chuck like, what do you think about next year? I'm like, no, thank you.
Yeah, so we have to go through the whole recruiting process, and then, you know, that we have an application that we basically approve you, but it spells out all of your requirements, and then they get in the gym in June. My biggest challenge is with 14 of them this year and 20 in the past is just making sure everybody gets me what they need. Like, I have certain deadlines with USA Boxing. You have to go to get your medical done. You have to have a copy of your passport or your...
This is a sanctioned USA Boxing
There was a
event.
deadline, and I made sure to send it the day after.
Yes. And
I was going to say, how was this guy?
And you weren't the only one.
As did most boxers.
You know, like...
And the fill-in people who helped us out, it's hard to hound them.
Yes.
They're doing us a favor.
Yeah.
You know, first I said, okay, you have to get me your medical by August 31st, thinking, okay, they're going to do that, right? And then it was, well, September 15th. Then it was, you know, and I had to keep pushing it. And the medical, for whatever reason, is 3 pages if you're under 40 and 5 pages if you're over 40. Everyone was filled out incorrectly. So, and that goes back to me. One little thing, it kicks it back. So it's like, you didn't date this, you didn't sign here, the doctor didn't do this. So that's all my responsibility and then I have to get all of their books and get them all sanctions. And then there's a 36-page ad journal in the LIBN that I put together.
Do you have people that fail that and can't box?
We've had people that have had injuries.
Yes.
While they're
this
training.
This year, one of our boxers, he's boxed in the past. He went for his medical and found out he had a tumor behind his eye because of our medical.
Trying to set up a funeral
if he didn't go and get his medical,
he may
for
not
us, he might not have had it checked out.
So nobody's
saved his life.
Nobody's really failed.
Well, listen, I don't, like, you're hurting me. Okay, stop saving lives.
Eventually, he'll have his business. It doesn't have to be today.
But it's just a lot. You know,
I think one of the most difficult things is you have boxers from all over Long Island, and trying to get them on a Wednesday afternoon or a Sunday morning.
Training.
And you have to put in the time with these other boxers.
Now, are you all in the same gym?
We try, but no.
Mostly,
right? So some guys go to other, but you have to go to a USA sanctioned boxing gym so they know how to train these guys, you know, correctly. And
USA Boxing will not let them in the ring unless they've been approved by watching them spar.
And then there was mandatory sparring at Frankie's gym, so we could all see them, and that their trainers could see them and try and match them up based on ability as well. So,
which is tough to do, right? Because you have guys that are across the board. You have height regulations. You have weight. You have age.
Not only that, Dimitri, have you ever seen Anthony spar?
Anthony,
who's
yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
did he look like he did the night of the fight?
I mean,
not
he came
at all.
out complete. And,
so
and
how
a lot
you
of guys,
spar and fight night?
Yeah.
Not the same.
A lot of guys like
it's all nerves.
Theo as well too. Like he was like, I didn't post a lot of videos of me sparring because I didn't want people to know like how good I've progressed, etc. So
he was sick one day at sparring, and did you see him? He came because it was mandatory. He was probably the only one that
gassed out.
No, Theo, and he had his phone like this, and he was taking video of Travis in the ring so that he knows exactly. So he would watch it and he would know exactly what.
So
Travis
you're saying that your
do.
opponent sparred harder?
My opponent spars all the time, so it doesn't matter.
I mean,
he spars light or hard.
Again, most of our boxers, if not all of them, I would say we did have a handful that have trained.
But did you get in the ring with Esperanza? You probably did, right? Like spar with her at all?
No,
like throw punches with her? Because she did with a lot of the guys.
Zach, I did. It was great. Like
just beating women up.
So I get into the ring like it was the first time with Zach. Zach's a little guy.
Zach reach your head?
So no, he just said, okay, you're not boxing, Zach. You're just gonna protect yourself. I was like,
win a shot.
Let him
so he just hit me like the whole time. It was great for 3 minutes.
How was he up to your hip? Was he just doing the speed bag on your?
He probably weighs like 110.
He'd have to get on a chair to reach his head.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But
who was he?
Chuck's son.
Chuck's son.
He's a little guy.
He weighs like 120.
Yeah.
So we also had
120.
We also had a fight that had nothing to do with our boxers, which was Frankie, our trainer's son, is getting into boxing and needed an opportunity to have a fight, a USA sanctioned fight. So we invited him.
Are they fluffing his record?
Well,
no, he actually ended up winning in the end, but. Well, his mom too, Kathy. What is she? She's like a world
Kathy's
champion.
Amazing, yeah. So Frankie
she's in the gym too,
Academy of Boxing.
She's really
she'll yell at you. It's
she will.
But she's great. Like she's a boxer, you know, and she was a titled boxer. Like she has belts and everything. And Frankie from the Academy of Boxing actually was the one to bring in women's boxing to Long Island, and actually they were getting recognized. So he has a huge and a long history of work.
So let me just get this right. So Frankie and it's his wife that's the
main boxer.
He's the trainer and the wife. It's their gym.
And he has like a full-time.
Imagine being like, I told you to clean the sink.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do it.
She's a lot louder than Frankie.
She's tough, but she's really, she's a very nice woman. And honestly, Frankie Jr. found me after he came out of the ring, like maybe 2 or 3 bouts later. And he just came up to me and was like, thank you so much for allowing me to, you know, box on the card. This meant so much to me. He gave me a hug. And I was just like, oh my God, they did a great job raising that kid. Like he's
a very good kid.
He's awesome.
Very good kid.
I think that the whole event was
boxer too.
So it was my first time, so I was like a little overwhelmed, and I don't know who was that giant human being that was there. Did you see that guy?
Yes, he's ex-firefighter.
He's a firefighter?
Wait,
Jeff knows him. I don't know his name.
Jesus Christ! First of all, he would have made you
the
look
guy like this
short.
guy.
Yeah.
Oh, so he was a designated driver, by the way.
For somebody.
So disappointing.
For Mark, one of my guys.
I don't want to say too many bad things because I run into him. The guy could lift me by my his shoulders were literally.
Yeah.
He looked like this.
Al Quinto would have messed everyone up.
Fight.
In there,
I asked Jeff if we could ever get him to fight, but there was some medical issues that he wouldn't be able to fight.
Dude, Jesus Christ! First of all, they don't make that shirt in a medium. Okay, you painted that thing on.
Oh God, I missed this whole thing.
He's enormous. First of all,
I thought you were talking about Rob Madden.
No, I don't know who Rob Madden is.
He was the last fight.
No,
the one
he made
was he the only one that's ever been?
No, Sammy fell too.
Well,
I knew that. I had
we
I thought Sammy was going to come out of the ring.
No, we did. We had 1 year. Do you remember?
In the 20 years of us doing this event, one person had to go to the hospital. And it was because it was a big guy. He slipped.
Yeah.
It's easy to slip in the ring. I mean, both of them did it that night. But this guy slipped and landed bad on his knee.
In the first 20 seconds.
In the first 20 seconds of his fight. And had to be taken to the hospital because he hurt his knee. So he didn't get punched.
Did he have a pre-plan set up?
I don't know. But in the beginning, one of the first years, maybe the first 5 years, someone got punched and landed on the mat and rolled right out of the ring.
It was like WWE.
Yeah, that one was.
That's a tough break.
It is. And that's just it. Your family's there, your friends there. We don't want anybody.
That's why we try.
Game, though, man.
I know, but that's why we try and make it as fair as possible. And
I think that's one of the biggest
Normally they would
things,
mail the books out a couple of weeks after.
You don't want to embarrass yourself.
Yeah, you just don't want to. But you put in the time too, right? Like, and at the end of the day, guys, we're just business owners putting in the time, learning how to box. Within 3 months,
some of them were at work and they came on their lunch break.
On their dinner break. But
the
guy that fought Dimitri, again, taking nothing away from D, he killed it. He did great. But we could say to him, which we do, to all of the fill-in guys, you got to take it easy.
Don't hurt
these guys have not been training for 5 years since they were 12, like you might have been. So you got to take it easy. And that's great until Dimitri contacts the guy in the face.
Yes. Well, so that's what I said all the time.
All of a sudden,
that's why, I was really
this guy really didn't just put his hands down.
He would have taken it, and he explained something to me. He's like, listen, you get guys in here to the gym, right? You get guys in the gym. And let's say they start at the same time, right? And one guy progresses more than the other guy. The guy who progressed more than the other guy is going to kick the other dude's ass because he learned enough to be dangerous.
So he always
goes, but I know how to box. He's like, I'm up here. He's like, I will control the fight. Make sure you don't look bad, right? And that gave me a sense of
so I told
but still,
him,
you have to watch out for that fucking right hand.
Still gonna get
so listen to me. From the moment he told me, he was like, they got me fighting a fucking professional fight. This is bullshit. I was like, listen to me, because I'm by no means am I this fighter, but I have experience from when I was younger. You are far better off. Far better off. With somebody who has that type of experience.
Yeah.
Where you get hurt is the amateur who's winging punches at you.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, that's what USA Boxing is also there for. Those refs that are in that ring, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They warned the one guy.
They don't like you even showboating, dancing.
No, they didn't. The one guy, the guy who Ramsey Real Estate fought, was flexing. Yeah. And he was like, no.
They don't want that.
Yeah.
No. I mean, listen, like you said, it's a charity.
Theo got up on the ropes.
People go, we've had women in years past that, there's not a lot of women, so they get very close. And that particular year, we had 4 of them, and they really spent a lot of time together. And one had a young child, and when they got paired up, the other one was like, oh my God, I can't hit you. You have a daughter and she's little. And so they kind of like figured out what they were going to do and what kind of show they were going to do before they got into the ring, like kind of pre-planned it. And because the one they didn't want to hit their friends, right? They didn't want to punch their friend.
Until it started.
Until they got in there.
And you
hear people screaming your name and everything. And then they ended up just beating the crap out of each other. I was like, so much for your plan of just like,
Women don't do body shots. Women just do face shots.
Just right for the face.
Because they have a protector.
Yeah.
So if you're going to punch in the chest, it's not doing anything.
I had sparred Billy like a month prior and he gave a good whooping. Yeah, right? So I was like, avoid the ribs, avoid the ribs.
Like real liver shots?
No. So I basically just told him just avoid the body. So he did and just punched me in the face the whole time. But it was a very good experience kind of learning how to progress. And like, you're not choreographing a fight, but you're learning how to dance together. At the end of the day, like boxing is very strategic. It's understanding your opponent, what's open, what's not open, how to attack, how to press forward. But you're also dancing together, right? And we're there at the end of the day. It's a show. Right.
Yeah. You guys did.
So I got hit with a liver shot when I was probably like 27, and we were doing a sparring match, and I was sparring with a kid who was probably at like time maybe 19 years old, and I was 27. I had plenty of experience. I expected to spar him, but teach him and kind of not carry him, but kind of carry him. The windmills came coming. This kid cracked me in right where the liver is. And I just went, I'm like, oh God, I'm going to get beat up by a high school kid. It took me forever to catch my breath. Yeah. And, it's not fun. It's really not fun.